They say you never truly know a person until you divorce them. I used to think that was just a cynical cliche made up by bitter people. I was wrong. My name is Mark. I'm 34, and up until 18 months ago, I thought I was the luckiest guy on the planet. My wife, Sarah, and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5. We didn't have kids yet, just a golden retriever named Buster, a beautiful house in the suburbs that we spent our weekends renovating, and what felt like a rock-solid foundation. We both had good careers. I work in software development, and she is a project manager at a mid-sized marketing firm. We rarely fought. We still went on date nights every Friday. Our sex life was great. I trusted her implicitly. I would have bet my life on her loyalty. Or so I thought. Looking back, it's terrifying how easily someone you sleep next to every single night can wear a mask. How they can kiss you goodbye in the morning, tell you they love you, and then spend their lunch break destroying your entire life.
The changes didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like in the movies where you find a mysterious hotel key or lipstick on a collar. Real-life cheating is subtle. It's a slow fade of the person you knew, replaced by a stranger who looks just like them. It started about a year ago when Sarah got put on a new, high-profile project at work. She started talking a lot about a new creative director named Greg. At first, it was harmless. Greg said the funniest thing in the meeting today, or Greg thinks my idea is brilliant. I didn't think anything of it. I was glad she was getting recognized at work. But then, the classic red flags started popping up. The first one was the phone. Sarah used to leave her phone anywhere, on the kitchen counter, on the couch, unlocked. Suddenly, it was glued to her hand. If she went to the bathroom, the phone went with her. If she set it down, it was always face down. She changed her passcode, claiming her firm updated their security policies. Then came the gym routine. Sarah had never been a fitness fanatic, but suddenly she needed to go to the gym at 7 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday. She would come home smelling like cheap soap and immediately jump in the shower. Her wardrobe changed. She started buying expensive lingerie that I never saw her wear. She became distant, easily irritable, and our intimacy flatlined. When I asked her if she was okay, she gaslit me beautifully. She told me I was being paranoid, that she was just stressed with the new project, and that I was making her feel suffocated. I actually felt guilty. I bought her flowers to apologize. God, I was an idiot.
The truth came out purely by accident. It was a Saturday morning. Sarah was out getting her nails done. I was in the guest bedroom looking for an old USB drive in a desk drawer when I found an old iPad we hadn't used in over a year. I plugged it in just to see if the files I needed were on it. The iPad powered on, connected to the home Wi-Fi, and suddenly it started pinging, non-stop. Ding, ding, ding. Dozens of notifications flooding in. Because we hadn't used it in so long, Sarah had completely forgotten that her Apple ID was still synced to this device. Her iMessages were mirroring to the iPad. My stomach tied itself into a knot. I knew I shouldn't look, but my gut was screaming at me. My hands were literally shaking as I swiped the screen. I opened the Messages app. There it was, a thread with a contact saved simply as G-box. I clicked on it, and my entire world collapsed in a matter of seconds. I read months of messages. They weren't just flirting. It was visceral, explicit, and undeniable. Messages detailing what they did in his car after work. Pictures of her in the lingerie I bought her, taken in hotel bathrooms. Messages making fun of me. She called me boring and predictable. She told him she was only staying until her end-of-year bonus cleared so she could afford an apartment downtown. The worst message. It was from the night of our 5th wedding anniversary. After we had a romantic dinner, she texted him from our bathroom. "Thinking about you. Wish you were the one across the table tonight. See you tomorrow morning." I didn't scream. I didn't cry right away. I felt physically sick. The betrayal was so heavy it felt like someone had poured concrete into my chest. I walked to the ensuite bathroom, locked the door, and I threw up. Everything I knew about my life was a lie.
I sat on the bathroom floor for about an hour. I let myself cry. I let myself grieve the woman I thought I married, the future I thought we had, the family we were supposed to build. And then, a switch flipped in my brain. The sadness evaporated, leaving behind a cold, calculating anger. I knew if I confronted her right then, she would cry, deny, delete the messages, manipulate me, and try to control the narrative. I wasn't going to let her control anything anymore. I took the iPad. I exported every single message, every photo, every voice note. I sent them to a secure cloud drive she didn't know about. I took screenshots. I printed the worst ones out. I put the iPad exactly back where I found it, with 10% battery, just like it was. When she came home an hour later, smiling and asking how my morning was, I looked her dead in the eye, smiled back, and said, "It was incredibly productive, honey." That Monday, I didn't go to work. I went to the best, most ruthless divorce attorney in my city. I laid the printed messages on his mahogany desk. He looked them over, looked up at me, and asked, "What do you want to do?" I told him, "I want out, and I want her to leave with nothing more than she brought in." My lawyer gave me strict instructions. Act completely normal. Do not confront her. Do not change my behavior. Sleep in the same bed. We had no kids, which made it easier, but we had joint accounts and a house. Over the next 4 weeks, under his guidance, I quietly opened a new private bank account. I funneled exactly half of our joint savings into it, perfectly legal in my state, just securing my share. I removed my name from her credit cards. I gathered all my irreplaceable sentimental items, my passport, my birth certificate, and moved them to a safe deposit box.
While my lawyer was preparing the nuclear warhead of a divorce petition, I did some digging of my own. I wanted to know everything about Greg. It didn't take long. LinkedIn and Facebook are wonderful tools. Greg was 38. He looked like a generic catalog model. But here is the kicker, the piece of information that turned my anger into absolute, unadulterated rage. Greg was married. He had been married for 6 years to a woman named Emily, and looking at Emily's public Facebook profile, she was 6 months pregnant with their first child. My wife wasn't just destroying our marriage, she was gleefully participating in the destruction of a pregnant woman's family. Any tiny shred of guilt I felt about my planned revenge vanished instantly. They were both monsters, and monsters need to be dragged into the sunlight.
Living with Sarah for those 4 weeks was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was psychological torture. I had to kiss her cheek when she came home. I had to listen to her complain about work. I had to watch her text him while we watched Netflix, knowing exactly what she was typing because I was checking the synced iPad while she slept. She was getting slobby. She told me she was going on a weekend corporate retreat with her team. I checked her messages. She and Greg had booked an Airbnb in the mountains. That was the timeline. The weekend she came back would be the execution date. I finalized the divorce papers. My lawyer had everything ready to file on Monday morning, but I had some personal business to handle on Sunday. I formulated a 2-part plan. Part 1, the collateral damage. Part 2, the main event.
That Saturday, while Sarah was playing house with Greg in the mountains, I found out where Greg lived. I drove to his house. It was a nice, quiet neighborhood. I saw Greg's car was gone, but his wife's SUV was in the driveway. I walked up to the door and rang the bell. Emily answered. She had a visible baby bump and looked tired but sweet. She asked if she could help me. I introduced myself. "Hi, Emily. My name is Mark. You don't know me, but my wife is Sarah. She works with your husband." Her face lit up a bit. "Oh yes, Greg talks about Sarah. They are working on that big account together. Is everything okay?" It broke my heart to break hers. I took a deep breath. "Emily, I am so sorry to be the one to tell you this, but they aren't working right now. They are at an Airbnb in the mountains. They've been having an affair for 6 months." She froze. The smile fell off her face. She immediately went into denial. She told me I was crazy, that Greg was at a leadership seminar, that I needed to leave. I didn't argue. I just pulled a thick manila envelope out of my jacket. I brought proof. Flights, hotel receipts, and transcripts of their messages, including messages where he complains about your pregnancy. "I am so sorry. You don't deserve this. I'm leaving my wife, and I thought you had the right to know who you were married to." I handed her the envelope, turned around, and walked to my car. As I was pulling away, I looked in the rearview mirror. She was sitting on her front porch, reading the first page, sobbing into her hands. I hated making a pregnant woman cry, but she needed to know before she brought a child into a lie. Part 1 was complete. Greg's world was about to explode the second he walked through his front door. Now, it was Sarah's turn.
Sunday evening. Sarah came home from her retreat. She looked radiant, kissed me, and told me how exhausting the seminars were. I smiled and told her I had a surprise. I told her I knew how stressed she had been, so I invited her parents and her sister over for a nice Sunday dinner to celebrate her recent hard work. She loved the idea. Her family arrived an hour later. Her dad brought wine, her mom brought dessert. We all sat around our large dining room table. We ate, we laughed, we poured wine. Sarah was holding my hand under the table, playing the perfect, loving wife in front of her family. It was a masterclass in acting. As dessert was being served, I stood up. I tapped my glass with a knife. Ding, ding, ding. The room went quiet. Everyone looked at me, smiling, expecting a toast, maybe a pregnancy announcement. I looked at Sarah's parents. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I've known you for 8 years, and you've treated me like a son. But tonight isn't a celebration of Sarah's work. It's a farewell dinner." Sarah's brow furrowed. She let out a nervous little laugh. "Mark, what are you talking about?" I reached under the counter behind me and pulled out 4 glossy red folders. I walked around the table and placed one in front of her father, one in front of her mother, one in front of her sister, and the thickest one in front of Sarah. "What is this?" her dad asked. "That, Jim," I said perfectly calmly, "is a detailed record of the last 6 months. It contains photos, text messages, and hotel receipts proving that your daughter has been sleeping with her married coworker, Greg. It also includes the messages where she makes fun of me and details her plan to use my income until her bonus clears." The silence in the room was deafening. You could hear a pin drop. Sarah turned completely white. All the blood drained from her face. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Her sister opened the folder. A glossy 8x10 printed screenshot of a highly explicit text exchange stared back at her. Her sister gasped and covered her mouth. Her father put on his reading glasses, looked at the first page, and his hands started to shake. Sarah finally found her voice. She stood up, panicked. "Mark, stop! Mom, Dad, don't look at that! It's fake! He's lying!" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I just looked at her with absolute disgust. "Sarah, you forgot to log out of the old iPad. I've been reading your messages for a month. Also, I visited Greg's pregnant wife yesterday and gave her the exact same folder. So your little fantasy life, it's gone."
Watching her world crumble in real time was the most surreal experience of my life. She broke down hysterically crying. She tried to grab my arm, begging me to go to the other room to talk. I stepped back. We have nothing to talk about. My lawyer will formally serve you at your office tomorrow at 9 a.m. The house is in my name, bought before the marriage. I have packed 2 suitcases of your clothes. They are by the front door. I want you out of my house tonight. Her mother was crying. Her father, a very strict, old-school guy, stood up. He looked at Sarah with pure disappointment. He threw the folder on the table. "Get your bag, Sarah. You're coming with us." He didn't even look at me. He was too ashamed. They left 10 minutes later. I locked the deadbolt, poured myself a neat glass of bourbon, sat on the couch with my dog, and took my first deep breath in a month. The house was quiet. The cancer was gone. The fallout over the next few weeks was glorious. Greg's wife kicked him out immediately and filed for a messy divorce, taking him to the cleaners. Because Sarah and Greg worked at a corporate firm with strict fraternization policies, and because Greg's wife called their HR department in a rage, they were both fired within the week. Sarah tried to fight the divorce, but with no job, no money, and the overwhelming evidence I had legally obtained, her lawyer advised her to take the standard 50-50 split of the marital assets and walk away. She ended up having to move into a tiny apartment, living off her savings.
It's been a year and a half since that dinner party. I won't lie and say the healing process was easy. Betrayal leaves scars. I spent months in therapy learning how to trust again, learning how to sleep through the night without rereading those messages in my head. But today, I am thriving. I got a major promotion at work. I kept the house, redecorated it completely to erase her memory, and Buster the dog is living his best life. I recently started dating a wonderful woman who is honest, transparent, and actually leaves her phone face up on the table. As for Sarah, from what I hear through the grapevine, she's working a lower-paying job, still single, and her relationship with her family is completely fractured. She reached out once, 6 months ago, via email. It was a long, rambling apology, saying she made the biggest mistake of her life. I didn't reply. I just deleted it and went to the gym. The best revenge isn't just exposing them, it's moving on and building a better life that they will never get to be a part of. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been through something like this, let me know in the comments how you handled it. Did I go too far with the dinner party? Or did she get exactly what she deserved? Hit the like button, subscribe for more stories, and remember, always check your old synced devices. You never know what you might find.